We've been talking about the past couple of days, past week, really, this anti-gay bill that's passed in Indiana. It's been gripping the country, and actually I just saw today, just this morning, Governor Mike Pence has held a press conference where basically he wants an amendment to this bill to go through the Indiana state legislature, specifically specifying that this is not a discrimination bill, which is sort of like Coke specifically specifying that they don't sell soft drinks. Of course, this is a discrimination bill. That's the entire point of it. That's why it was written. If you know anything about the people who authored it and why it was signed, it was specifically put into law to allow vendors, florists, bakers, other people like that to discriminate against gay couples. That's the point of the bill. And it just so happens that now we've reached the tipping point in this country. While still there is obviously a lot of work to do for marriage equality and for gay rights in order, considering the fact that something like this could even pass. But we have reached a point in this country where not only is being homophobic and supporting homophobic policies kind of socially uncouth, it's actually terrible economics. I mean, Indiana is facing a serious fallout from corporate America because of this anti-gay bill. We have Charles Barkley saying that NCAA Final Four games shouldn't be held in Indiana because of this. We've seen companies ranging from Salesforce.com to Coca-Cola halting business and reversing plans to do further business in the state. So it's a big deal. So Mike Pence, in preparation for this morning's Incoherent press conference, has been making the rounds on every news channel he can get on to try to justify this homophobic bill and explain that it isn't homophobic. And, of course, that the people of Indiana, Hoosiers, are really, really, really nice people, which would be interesting. I'd like to see ISIS adopt this strategy. It's like, no, we're really nice. We're nice people. We're nice people that throw gay people off of buildings. But let's listen to him. He was talking to George Stephanopoulos on ABC over the weekend, and George Stephanopoulos was trying to hold Mike Pence's feet to the fire about this bill, and just watch the just gyrating incoherence of Indiana's governor. Let's take a listen.
The issue here, the Religious Freedom Restoration Act has been on the books for more than 20 years. It does not apply, George, to disputes between individuals unless government action is involved. And in point of fact, in more than 2 decades, the Religious Freedom Restoration Act has never been used to undermine anti-discrimination laws in this country.
Sir, I'm just bringing up.
It's just important to note that the reason that hasn't been used to undermine anti-discrimination laws is because there aren't anti-discrimination laws on the books concerning gay and transgender people. So that's totally disingenuous and a complete misnomer, and important to note. Keep playing the clip.
The question, I think the real question here,
that was one of your supporters who was talking about the bill right there. It said it would protect a Christian florist who against any kind of punishment. Is that true or not?
George, look, the issue here is, is tolerance a two-way street or not? I mean, there's a lot of talk about tolerance in this country today having to do with people on the left. But here Indiana steps forward to protect the constitutional rights and privileges of freedom of religion for people of faith and families of faith in our state. And this avalanche of intolerance that's been poured on our state is just outrageous. You've been to Indiana a bunch of times. You know it. There are no kinder, more generous, more welcoming, more hospitable people in America than in the 92 counties of Indiana. And yet, because we simply stepped forward for the purpose of recognizing the religious liberty rights of all the people of Indiana, of every faith, we suffered under this avalanche for the last several days of condemnation, and it's completely baseless. It's not based on any fact whatsoever.
I completely agree with you about the good people.
And I think people are getting tired of it, George. I really do. Tolerance is a two-way street.
I'm not totally sold, unlike Stephanopoulos, on the whole good people of Indiana thing. I'm sure there's a lot of good people in Indiana. I don't know what passing this bill says about them, but that's another conversation. All right, keep playing it.
Tolerance is a two-way street.
So when you say tolerance is a two-way street, does that mean that Christians who want to refuse service, or people of any other faith who want to refuse service to gays and lesbians, that it's now legal in the state of Indiana? That's a simple yes or no question.
George, the question here is if there is a government action or a law that an individual believes impinges on their religious liberty, they have the opportunity to go to court, just as the Religious Freedom Restoration Act that Bill Clinton signed allowed them, go to court, and the court would evaluate the circumstance under the standards articulated in this act. That's all it is. And when you see these headlines about Indiana, a license to discriminate in Indiana, and it just, I'm telling you, George, it is a red herring, and I think it's deeply troubling.
Okay, so first of all, no. Tolerance isn't a two-way street. If you're discriminating against somebody, that's not your right to independently flourish in your own opinion, man.
Wow, you're not being very tolerant, Michael.
Yeah, excuse me. That's totally intolerant of me. Number two, yes, Bill Clinton signed homophobic legislation in the mid-'90s. That's a complete non sequitur. He was wrong to do it then, and it's wrong to justify homophobic legislation based off of it now. And number three, it's just amazing. In 2004, George W. Bush, an integral part of getting reelected, was running against marriage inequality. And now as the country changes and things get better, certainly in this regard, to watch just the utter incoherence of these arguments collapse in this just kind of embarrassing display of incoherence and ignorance is somewhat satisfying, but we still got to work to reverse this law.
Just to add to this, BuzzFeed posted just a couple of moments ago, they dug into Mike Pence's some old op-eds that he wrote. And this dude has been wrong on many issues.
He's been writing,
over
I'm
history.
sure he's been writing articles about tolerance being a two-way street for a long time.
Not even just on this. I mean, this dude is usually on the wrong side of history for pretty much any issue.
I have no doubt. Give us some
examples. For example, time for a quick reality check. Despite the hysteria from the political class and the media, smoking cigarettes does not kill.
Wait, what year did he write that?
I've got to look it up. There's no year.
That's awesome.
There's 15 years ago.
He wrote that 15
years ago.
Are you serious?
15 years ago.
Wow.
On climate
he must have
change,
really gotten a lot of campaign contributions from
on
the
climate
tobacco
change,
industry.
Pence says CO2 from burning fuels can't be the cause of increased global temperatures because it is a naturally occurring phenomenon in nature, not an unnatural one.
Right.
He also mixes up India and Indonesia in the piece. On George Washington, he believes George Washington was a Republican and wrote in his piece, Republicans from George Washington to George W. Bush just have better ideas. Right. And BuzzFeed points out that George Washington did not belong to any political party and went out of his way to warn people against them in his farewell address. Yeah,
those are pretty rich. So Mike Pence, not only bigoted, also really, really stupid. But I'm sure he's a really friendly Hoosier.
That's the important
whatever that
thing.
means.
That's the important thing.